Hello, welcome to part 6 of this 7-part series, 7 Days to Clarity, how to get the most from your ABA therapy or your kids' ABA therapy. This video series supports this book that is written by me. Check out the Amazon link below. If you haven't already, please go back and do parts 1 through 5. They're going to build on each other. If you have done those parts, then welcome to day 6, learn and discern. So when we start working with a therapist, the point is to get information that they have that's applicable in service of the goals that you and your family and your child have, right? And so it makes sense that we would want to learn from these people. We would want to apply information that they have for us. But there's also some consideration that can go into that process that is going to be taken from the work that we've done in the previous parts of this video series or in the chapters of my book. So sometimes what can happen is that, and I've been guilty of this too, as a parent who has therapists come into her house. I mean, my daughter's PT was here yesterday. We can sometimes take on all of the things that they say and start to get even down on ourselves that probably not all of those things are going to be implemented in the week. And sometimes that can be a blind spot for the therapists themselves because the work that they're doing and that they're teaching you is so salient or just easy for them at that point, right? Because they've done it so many times that they can make those recommendations and it's second nature to them. But it's not to us. It's not to the parent. And the therapist lives a completely different life than you do, and that's okay. And so that's what this day is about, is being able to learn but also discern what is good for you and what is reasonable for you. So one thing is, okay, this BCBA came up with a fantastic plan and program and they just know it's going to work, and that sounds reasonable. If they think it's going to work, then I should probably figure out how to make it work. And so that right there, that you're going to make it work, takes a lot of things into consideration. It puts a lot of things on you that might not be reasonable, and it can lead to that part of like, I feel like I'm letting myself down. I feel like I'm letting my kids down. I feel like I'm letting this therapist down. And so the 4 things that I want you to consider within this idea, right? The first question isn't a consideration, it's just a question. Is this plan reasonable for you, or is it just reasonable? Okay? Because the best plans are going to be the ones that you can implement, the plans that are reasonable for you in your space, right? We can learn from these people, but we have to make it work for our lives and our situations. And the 4 things I want you to consider are consistency. How reasonable is it for you to be able to be consistent in this plan? And sometimes there's mindset blocks, which is why we already did some of that other work. Sometimes there's mindset blocks that can prevent consistency, and we can work around how we can interact with our environment once we start working with our mindset, right? And so sometimes there's work that has to be done there first in order to create consistency. And sometimes there's not going to be availability for consistency, which is going to mess up their plan. And it's going to make you feel bad. It's going to make them feel bad. And it's not going to get you guys the results that you want. And so it's great to consider this variable ahead of time, right? And make space for you to say, like, this might not be your plan because of a consistency factor. And again, we can play with some mindset, but the next part is bandwidth, right? And so sometimes we can't play with bandwidth. There isn't always the capacity to play with bandwidth. There is space for us to create different types of bandwidth, which is why I spent so much time on self-care and that idea of overflow and the idea of making you a part of the goals of your, overarching self and like your goals, even if that's not a part of the BCBA's goals, but unapologetically putting yourself in there, because that's going to help bandwidth issues, right? When we have the things like our personal needs met, all of them, and we know the next time we're going to be able to have our personal needs met, the discomfort of these programs, right, of this whole process is going to be a bit more tolerable, and we can play with bandwidth and we can play with consistency. But if we're not aware of it, we can't, right? And sometimes it's that you don't want that plan, right? Because it's going to have such a big thing. And that's where we can start challenging our therapists and saying is there a way that we can reconceptualize this that's going to work more effectively in my home, right? I see that your plan is reasonable, but it might not be very reasonable for me, and here's why: because you've thought about your versions of consistency and your bandwidth. The next one is level of effort, and this gets messy in between those two, right? How much effort is it going to take you to do this, right? How much change is it going to call for in your day? And really evaluating that in the process of making your plan, right, is going to help your therapist make a plan that's more effective for you. But it's also going to take you getting clear on what you can and cannot do, right? What you will and will not do, and what fits in with your values and your overall prioritization of your goals, right? So this video, this day, we're really getting down to really making things happen, right? We're moving out of some of the mindset work, but the mindset work set you up to be able to evaluate these things a little bit differently. The last one I have here is gut. Now, your instincts about what will work for your kiddo, you can sometimes question those, especially if you aren't super, rooted in your own needs, right? If you're feeling a little floaty, it might be hard for you to listen to your gut. Other people, your gut is loud and it is proud and it is clear and it is important, and it is a very, very important part of the planning process. And we want to honor that. Okay, so if you've got something, if there's a plan or there's a situation at hand where your gut is just saying no, 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 right? There's probably a reason for that. And it's time to really lean into some of those mindset block work, right? Because it's not necessarily a block. It could be something that's really important to you. But when you start questioning it from a position of why does this scare me, right? Which is some of the work that we've done already in day 3, day 4, day 5. Why is this scary? Is this feeling helpful, right? Is it supporting my goals? Is it supporting my values, even if it doesn't seem to be in alignment with the therapist person? And is it true? Is it true in service of my values, in service of my goals, or is it coming from a place of fear, right? Start questioning your gut, because then you're going to be able to advocate for yourself and your child in a way that's really aligned, right? It's aligned to your things. And so you're going to start speaking, right, from a place of your own inner authority, that is going to be able to walk the knife edge of, should we try it out because I don't have enough information and I can be open to it working, or am I not, open to trying it out because it's not really aligned with my prioritization or my values and how to achieve my goal. So both of those are important, but holding both is pretty powerful in the way that you're going to communicate with your therapist, this person who's got the information that you need to have, right? And sift through, filter through in order to apply what is going to be most helpful to your family, your needs, your situation, and your goals. And so sometimes we do just have to sit in that, try it out and see. Sometimes we don't have enough information, but when you become aware of some of these variables, especially from the onset when we go to adjust, because no program is going to be perfect out of the gate. Every single program, every single goal, and the way that we achieve that goal is going to have adjustments as we go. For the same reason that our version of like life balance is always going to be adjusting. The variables in our environment, the prioritization of our needs, it's all dynamic. Nothing's ever static. And so programs, even really fantastically communicated and written ones, will have to evolve over time. So when we have that expectation that the whole thing and the individual parts are going to be fluid, that's when, and when we have the awareness of like our needs and how we as parents, right, you as a parent, what your role is within that, and that it's safe for your needs to be met at the same time as meeting your kids' needs, right? And that it's safe for you to want plans that work within your whole life rather than just the narrow focus of your kiddo. Then we can try it out and see, and that's safe. Right? It doesn't have as much pressure to get it right the first time. And if that's something that's really playing in your heart or in your mind, I would ask you to go through that same kind of questioning process. Why is this so scary? What does it mean if it happens, right? What does it mean if it doesn't happen? Is that thought process mine, or is it like something that comes from society or schools or teachers or my mom or whatever it is? Is it helpful in service of my goals? Is it true, right? Is it based in absolute truth, or is it based in fear? So it's just about being able to play, get more information. And then when we start thinking of it as play, that's when it becomes less pressure and more available, like more of an opportunity. So that is day 6. We've just got one day left, and that one's my personal favorite day we'll get into that in the next one. But I look forward to chatting with you about that soon. Bye. I actually forgot to give you an assignment, so I'm going to change that back. Not by. What I want you to do is go ahead and take some of your goals, take some of your programs that you already have, and filter through those questions for yourself. Or a potential program that you guys have on the docket that's going to be coming down the pipe, one of your high priority needs, or like one that's next to come from the prioritization list. Consistency, effort, bandwidth, and gut. How do those 4 variables play into how this program is going to play out for me? And what things can I communicate to my BCBA, to my team, right, that can make this more personalized to me and my program and my family, so that it's not just reasonable, but that it's reasonable for me. Cool. All right, see you in part 7. Bye.